Not at all, no lessons. Anyway, sorry, that's not, okay. When I was 20 years old, and I went to school at Indiana University, and I majored in film. And I took, most of the classes I took were like women's studies and feminist filmmaking, you know, and you know, about like, oh, look, women are being like stacked up like toothpicks for Busby Berkeley, and oh, we're being, you know, that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Like, and it was mostly that kind of, but during that time period, I made a big show about how I would only watch European film. And I'd be like, I can't watch American cinema. I get so confused. I can't even follow I get headaches. But I'm sure it's wonderful. You all seem to enjoy it. So that's all and so because of this obsession during this time of watching European movies, I had this idea that Europe was this place where you got off the plane and you heard this noise. It sounded like this. You can't go to the library without like a little extra help. Like it's like anything mundane is like made. You know, he's an angel. I don't know if you guys what I'm talking about. And everything so I don't know. Spiritual and beautiful, and that guy's an angel too. And everything, and she's got a wig. She could be an angel, just not looking at the camera, but she could be an angel. And the fact that like there's an angel reading with his finger, and that there was so much more. Everything was just deeper there. You know what I mean? It was more spiritual, and like God, like that. More the people who take a good example, and the lights, and also that in Europe when the holidays were exhausting, you know, get your traditions, you know, like, and then they're like, oh, and this, and like, oh, a little tryst, and you know, no big thing with the maid, doesn't matter, morals are different there, it's awesome. Even that Christmas decoration seemed like, I'm like, look at that, going like, you know, it's not electronic, how do they do it, it's still European. And then this are the candles on the Christmas tree, and this guy here, when he's beginning to die, and he's using a handkerchief. Even now, it's like, oh, handkerchief. You know what I mean? Instead of a tissue, which is such a better choice, obviously. We all know that, of course. And also, in Europe, you're just like, I just want to go on a walk, I just have to get out of the house tonight. And it looks like this, and you're like, oh, kitty. And then kittens in Europe are not as skittish. They're just like, like that. So, and then oh, no bra, but whatever, there's a fur on the front. You know, beautiful, just wandering around. And then when you're wandering, and there's the kitty still. You're like, oh, what's that over there? Was this around the corner the entire time? Oh my God, Europe. It's amazing. And to be an artist in Europe, I had this sort of idea that somehow I would get to Europe, like I was sort of like a, you know, a chubby Hoosier, like strip mall, you know, person from Indiana. But if I went to Europe, I would be like, and this whole thing of like, I don't know, like these are the street musicians, these are the street artists, and the people are just show folk, you know, and pick up a trombone and then this guy's got like a miniature little violin, and this, I don't know, it just seems so, ooh, like what is that? Oh, even that was sex. Oh, like even the dark, you know that dark, you know what I mean, like the villain-looking people look awesome. Oh, and also in Europe, your postman rode a bicycle, you know, and he would get in discussions with old men that are Pablo Neruda, you know? not just discussions, but arguing, you know, the postmen are like, metaphor, you don't tell me what metaphor is, like, and irony, you know, that kind of thing, and your postman is also dies right after this movie was shot, which is you know, horrible, I know, it's so sad, but it's just so, and also in Europe, when the people are just like, your friend, like when people, I don't know, for some reason, just physically how they move, the people are just like, but they take little risks. They take risks physically there. But we don't take, that would be me. That would be me here. Uncomplicated nipple, just beep. And then here, that's how the mail comes. It's like, oh. And then you read it orally. It just all seemed like, well, like that to me. So when I met a Dutch guy when I was was at school at IU, and he was in the directing program. And he was horrible. I mean, he wasn't horrible, but he was mean. And everybody was sort of like, oh, Franz, because he was always yelling at people. And he was really like, I don't have an answering machine. Ah, you know, he was really fucked up teeth and the same clothes every day. But I loved him. And the meaner he was, the more I was like, oh, he was so mean. So European. So he cast me in a show that he was doing, an Artaud play, this experimental play. And I played like a piece of crumpled paper, you know. Our rehearsals would be him like, he would like crumple. I'm like, oh, I'm crumbling. I'm being torn. It's tearing me now. It's tearing me. Like that was our, and I loved it. Again, it was all seemed so European. And well, we ended up we started dating, and then he asked me at a certain point to move to Europe with him, to Amsterdam, and he really sold it like. That we were going to go to Europe and do English-speaking theater, and that we would, I would live an artist life there, and that there are all these theaters that he knew and communities that he wanted to introduce me to. And so I dropped out of school, and I followed him. I went to Europe, dropped out, went to Europe, and then as soon as, of course, we get to Amsterdam, I mean, immediately, amongst his own people, like not the god that he was, I'm like, God, you're all tall and mean. You're all the same there. And so it wasn't, and plus, he got very disillusioned with me because he felt that I wasn't as brave in Amsterdam as I was in Indiana. But I was like, I couldn't go buy stamps without being like, come with me, I don't play stamps. It's also scary. But anyway, so we broke up, and after we broke up, I decided that I wanted to stay because I hadn't even started to do anything yet. You know, I had just gotten there, I was getting used to everything, and I still wanted to sort of start doing, I don't know, take some classes, I don't know, go see some more theater, to get involved in the whole theater scene there, the art scene. So, but instead, I ended up just like cleaning. I was a house cleaner. I was just like getting Dutch pubic hair out of toilets. So that was my main. And they shed like I was. Point to that. Anyway, so and I was also had no place to live and house to house and that kind of stuff, very chaotic. And then I had this amazing offer to move into this artist. It was like a commune almost, and it was only for artists. And I pitched myself to them as an artist. And I was like, it's so important. I'm not doing anything right now. But I'm definitely looking to be, it's so important to be immersed in that community to me. You know, and so they let me move in. And then I had this beautiful, beautiful, like I painted my room sky blue, so it was like living in heaven. Like I made it sky, and I lived there for years. And I had this exhausting ritual every morning that I woke up there. It was like a 2-hour like New Age self-help ritual that I went through. Because I had to wake up and I'd really be like, oh, there's the sunshine. I have to greet it and take it in. I'm greeting the sunshine. I'm taking it in. Okay, and then I had to do my artist way pages. Like I had to do 3 pages. You know, and if I got to 2.5, I'd be like, I have to do 3. I have to do 3. You know, like, and then I'd do like automatic writing with my left hand to see what came up, just whatever. You know, that's okay. That's the message for today. And I had these angel cards. I would pick an angel card to give me a message of what my focus was going to be for the day. To be something like, you know, like it'd be like importance, and I'd be like, oh, God, it's so funny. I'd get that today. And I would turn on music, and I would just dance so I could free my soul. I'd do my soul freeing dancing music. And then I also, and then my room was I had all these flying, for some reason I had all these pigs with wings that were like flying above me, as if that was like the symbol of, you know, if pigs could fly, oh, believe the unbelievable. You know, so, and then after I would do all of that, I would watch Oprah for 2 hours, back to back, because it came on in syndication, you know, and it was that she'd be fat and thin, fat and thin. But, you know, it wasn't there. And so, and I told myself that the reason that I was watching Oprah is because I could learn Dutch, because it was subtitled, and I was learning words like kwetsbaar, which means vulnerable. You know, and I was like, that's the word I need to know. I need to know those words. You know, so I couldn't order like sliced brown bread, you know, at the baker, but I could tell someone like, I feel very vulnerable. I think I was molested by my sister's friend. In Dutch, which is humor. It was awesome. So, all right, so after I do the 2 hours of Oprah, after that, I'd be ready to go. I worked in the evenings. and my job was I was in room service at the Pulitzer Hotel, and I could not leave my little egg of a room, little blue egg of a room, until I had to put headphones on to go out of my apartment. Because the fact, and Amsterdam's beautiful, and it was so, I mean, it was like ideal, and the canals, and the little, and this, and the lights, and blah, blah. But for some reason, but yet I swear every day that I'd be out, I'd be like, oh, this is so beautiful, and all of a sudden I'd just glance really quick, just blink like that, and I'd see an image that would fuck me up for weeks. It was like that, you'd be like, like you see something, and you're like, why did I see that? You know, so I became obsessive about how I wanted to like create my own soundtrack for like leaving the part. So I would put on my headphones on my way to work, and it's always the end of I'm trying to tell you something about my life. And then I get to work, take the headphones off, my giant headphones all like that, and then. At work, at the Pulitzer, I was in, first of all, I think apparently I was the fattest person that had ever worked at the Pulitzer Hotel. Because I would come to work and they would all, that's all people talked about was my weight. They had nothing else to say to me. I mean, I would walk in and they'd be like, wow, Lauren, you had a good weekend, I think. No, you ate good. Well, I can see it. They point out, I can see it, you gained weight through here, I'll send back here. When I got the woman who was doing the uniform thing was like, that one doesn't fit you? Oh my God. No, we're gonna have to special order from Germany. I don't know what to do. And they go 6 to, I was like size like 14 or 16 or something. I mean, it wasn't like I was, like in a wheelchair, like, it wasn't such a big thing. And then, so I was always complaining about how they were harassing me about my weight. Yeah, I would always brag about how I could carry the heaviest trays of room service. I was like, I got that one. And then I'd be in the hallway, like carrying these giant platters, like a family of 5 has breakfast. And the Dutch guys would come up and be like, Lauren, excuse me, why are Americans so fat? Really, we were talking to each other, we're both wondering why. And I'm like, I can't be the spokesperson for Fat America, but and so all that is going on. So I'm the fattest person there, yet half the kitchen staff was also like trying to have sex with me. So it was a very, complicated early 20s time. And I had this thing happen, this guy, especially the guys at the breakfast buffet. I was huge at the breakfast buffet. This guy, Ahmad, at one point he asked me out for a date, and I went, and I liked him. He was like this Egyptian Burt Reynolds. He was very like clean and open, very big forehead. And I go out with him in the middle of the night. We're out. His friend Micus shows up, and he was like, "You have a friend from Micus?" And I didn't. So what happened was I should have gotten a friend, because I ended up having this like this three-way with these people that I didn't even. It was the most unsexual thing I've ever done in my life. Like literally, it was just like the whole thing was just like, "What do you need over here? Over here, okay." I'm not thinking like, oh God, check me. I'm just like, why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? And they would flip me over in positions where all of a sudden I realized that they had messed with my room, because they came over to my room for it, and I was like, oh, they moved my pig. Like, because they wanted to make a sex den, so I guess this is what they did. Anyway, and after that night happened, the big threesome thing, after they left, I was trying to say to myself, like, oh my God, wow, this is Amsterdam. This is what happens. This is crazy. This is what, and then I start to feel bad about it. But then I go tell a friend of mine who's a painter who lives in the building, Rachel, and I'm telling her, and I get halfway into the story, and she starts to cry. And she's like, why would you let somebody do that to you? Why would you let them do that to you? And I was like, it's Amsterdam. And I was like, why did I let them do that? That's not what I came here to do. Like, I keep doing all these. Well, anyway, so after that happened, what I did, what I always did after I had a really traumatizing night, and had a bunch of them, was I would go see a matinee. And that day, I went to go see An Angel at My Table, which is this Jane Campion movie that is the story of Janet Frame, who is the most amazing poet and writer. I've never read her poems or any of her writing, but the movie of her life is incredible. And it was, I could not get enough. This is her. She grew up in New Zealand. And even when I first saw that shot, I was like, oh my God, that's me. Even with the thighs, it was like chafing, I know that. She's got to be. And in fact, she had red hair for some reason. I was like, I'm adopted, same thing. No offense. Oh, and her life growing up was just like so much suffering. Her family was super poor, and they could not leave the house without somebody drowning. They were always drowning. My sisters were drowning all the time. I was like, why'd you go here? And so, and this is when she first meets
my real name is Puppy. What is it? Marjorie. Is your name your real name? My real name's Janet. Janet. That's pretty. But I get called Jane by Steve, and Dee and Topsy. Is that because you're here? Yes. Can I touch it? Yes.
So sweet.
Touch my legs if you like. What are they? Definitely my dad whops me with his machine gun.
Oh, I know, it's very dark and real. So she goes on, okay, to be a writer. She's a writer. She's an artist. She's a writer. And she writes a story, and her teacher, who she turns it into, has her institutionalized for being crazy. And this is her going to the institution. And I remember thinking, I mean, the people next door are clearly crazy. And she, look at her face right there. That's my entire life. How did this happen? What am I doing here? I don't know what this happened. And so she was, and the fact that she ends up being, she was schizophrenic is what they said. And she was institutionalized for 8 years. All right, and she got shock treatment daily. And they're like, oh, because you're writing, we saw what you wrote. This is what we think. These are your roommates for the next 8 years. All these people, these are all short story writers. Okay, so she gets shock treatments daily for 8 years, but she continues to write while she's in there because that's just what she does. Because that's the artist soul, you know, she has to write. And then she ends up, her family takes what she wrote and they publish it for her. So this is her, she has no idea that her book is, well, it's her sister, who clearly has not had shock treatment for 8 years. Hence the difference.
Good book, Jolly good book.
What then she writes a comic?
Then after that, like, she gets out of the hospital, she's proved she's got some talent, she really is a writer. I guess that made her, anyway, they get out of the hospital. She's touring around Europe as an artist, and here she is, oh, look, these are all the posers. Everyone is like, yeah, I'm not, beret. Like, tons of this is all, people are talking about being artists, and people are discussing their publishers, and she's the only, I mean, she's the real deal in the middle of them. And of course, she looks the most sort of, you know, I don't know, she looks more like real, you know, than all the other, this guy. It's horrible.
Excellent. In fact, I've never met anybody who's published a book before. Well, I mean, you know, somebody like us, that's great. It's only in New Zealand, still, it's a book, Janet.
Who's your publisher?
Caxton Priest for the short stories, and Pegasus for the novel.
Oh, judgy.
Yes, we know, Paul. Favour.
Favour and favour.
Whatever, people, you haven't been institutionalized for 8 years, the shock treatment is right. Okay, so this is, okay, she meets this guy, this is the scene where she's like, how beautiful she is in the water, and they made a thing about how she's not, you know, her weight and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Like, I want only to be looked at when I'm in the water. I'm And then then her sister comes to stay with her. She's living in her aunt's house. But anyway, so I go see this movie 3 times in a row, 3 days in a row. It's a long movie, okay? It's an epic story of her life. And I am obsessed with it. I cannot get enough of the details of who she is. And the fact that she so fought to be an artist, that she so was one, and that you don't. And well, the third day that I went to go see it, everybody in my row hated the movie. Okay, and I'm listening to all these people like, oh my God, now how old is she? She's still really old. Listen, and that whole thing, they're all like, oh, if someone told me I was crazy and I was not, I would say something. Oh, I would not do that. Yeah, and then they complain at the end, they're like, this is really depressing. I don't think I've laughed one time. I laughed once, but it's something you said, not because of the movie. I don't like it. I don't like it. I was like, how could anybody see this and not be completely moved by how much she was such an artist's heart that she had to do, you know, I was like, what world am I living in where people could actually not be moved by this? I thought it was such an incredible, that's before she got her new teeth. But anyway, after I see that movie, I'm like, I came here to be an artist, you know, my artist web pages. I'm like, oh, I came here, I have to be doing what I said I was going to do. And so I started to focus on trying to like take classes and trying to visit theaters and see what's going on. And then during that time period where I'm focusing on it, an ad is in the paper for a theater company that is moving to Amsterdam, and they're from Houston, Texas. And they're going to start a company in Amsterdam, and they're going to do English-speaking theater. They want to do American-style theater, and they want to introduce it to Europe. And they're looking for artists, all different kinds of artists. They want designers and costume people and writers and directors. They want everybody because they want to train you in this method, and it's a special method that they've developed. And the whole wording of it, I was at this time again. I was like 21. Okay, it's all this stuff. The words risk-taking worked on me then. You know, so they're like, we're looking for risk-taking artists. I was like, that's so funny because that's what I am. That's what exactly. That's weird. I found this is. I can't believe I'm reading this now. It's risk takers and artistic excellence speak. You know, and as artistic excellence, I demand that. I trust that. Yes. And then and people who live on the edge. It's only about like living on the edge. And so I immediately set up that I call it like an audition. And the audition, I'm like I'm so focused on wanting to do well. I make like I make a tape to listen to when I'm going to the audition, like a special soundtrack to get me in the right place to like you know be the artist that's so I put my headphones on. So I get to the audition feeling very deep. And when I get there and I walk in, there were 3 boys there, they were like in their 20s, and they were the actors that had been specially chosen by the artistic director. Now, the artistic director was not in the room because she felt like she wanted her actors, her special chosen actors, to be the ones to recognize in the people auditioning whether the people had what it took to be a part of this company, because she felt like they knew the work, they did the work, they should be the one choosing people they're going to work with, which I thought was very, very, very impressive. So I walk in, I see them, and they're super cute too. They're straight sort of Texas boys, and I wasn't used to any. I mean, every theater guy I knew, sorry, honestly, was still like, I'm doing felt Pacific, like I'm still. I'd never seen like Sam Shepard looking, actors like that. So I was a mess when I walked in. I was just so like, oh my god, hi. Oh my gosh. So anyway, normally I bring a dog to auditions, but I didn't bring it today. Where's the dog? What's so weird? Why didn't I say that? Stupid. No, I've been kidding on my head. Usually I was just like, and asked me if I'm a stand-up comic, and then I was like, oh wow, that's offensive. And then I realized that I was coming off to being kind of an idiot, so I was like, okay, I need to sort of show them that, I'm deep and edgy. So I started to tell them the story about dating this like abusive boyfriend when I was 16. I was like, well, actually, it's funny you bring that up. I dated a man who was a stand-up, very abusive. And I started and they stopped me. Like, it was so upsetting that they were like, that's okay, like, you can pay for someone to hear that story. They stopped me and asked me to do my audition, and the audition piece that I did, to show my artistic excellence, I did a piece that was about me being the youngest member of Weight Watchers in Indianapolis. And the whole piece is just I'm the Weight Watchers, meeting guide lady, and I'm like, okay, everybody, if you're done with your weigh-in, just go ahead and put your clothes back on, and if you took your fillings out, let's work on getting those back in too. Okay? Let's welcome our youngest member of Weight Watchers in the history of this meeting, Lauren. She's weighing in at 185 pounds, and she's got a goal weight of 120. Woo, quite a journey. sketch, you know. And at the very end of it, I have the woman reading a poem that she's written, and it's called Pretty Lady, Go Away 102. Oh, let me out, where are my bones? Let me out, no more ice cream cones. Oh, my pretty lady, don't you even care? Oh, my pretty lady, an eclair or a pear? Oh, my pretty lady, don't you know you'll always be gross if you don't start skipping your butter on your morning toast? Oh, my pretty lady, join Weight Watchers! And I get done with my monologue, and nobody's laughed throughout the entire thing. And I was like, God, this really killed in high school. This is weird. And the only thing is the Sam Shepard guy says to me, that was incredibly complicated. And very, very brave. And I was like, oh, really? I wouldn't have thought I was that brave. Okay, I'll take that. And apparently it was because I got in. So I'm in the company, and it's like the first meeting that we have is in this warehouse space, and it is, I walk in and I'm like, oh my God, these are like the funkiest artists that I've ever seen in one space in Amsterdam. And from the first 2 seconds, we're all looking at each other going, this is really special. This is really special what's going on in here. It really is. And then in walks Danny. She's the artistic director. And she's like this 8-foot-tall, like Texas beauty queen. And she comes in and she greets everybody with, oh my God. Woo, the talent in this room is overwhelming. You know that you are the bravest artist that we met in Amsterdam this last 2 months? This is unbelievable, people. I'm so excited. I don't know how to even get it started, but I will get it started this way. I'll introduce you to Tim. Tim is a Hewlett-Packard executive. If it weren't for him, this company would not be happening at all. Tim, you want to say something? Hi, everybody. I look forward to seeing what we're going to do this next year. And I just love Amsterdam, so look forward to it. Okay, now let me ask you a question. She starts talking about the work immediately. Let me ask you a question. Well, let me tell you something, actually. Do you realize that your fear is not that you're inadequate? Your fear is that you are powerful beyond all measure. Oh my God. Oh my God, I've never heard that before. Oh, that's amazing. Where did she come up with that? And let me tell you something. Searching for your personal truth, that is your only job in here. Everything else is secondary. That's all I want to do anyway. That's perfect. I can't believe she keep up with that. Where's your journal? I gotta write it down. Can you write that down for me and give it to me? And then she tells us about the wound. Every single one of you has a wound in you. And that is where you hold the knowledge that you are going to die. And our work here is to unblock ourselves to get to the wound. And when that wound is exposed, you will laugh like you have never laughed. And you will cry like you have never cried. Oh my God, I want the wound. I want the wound, yes. Please open me up for that. Okay, now I'm doing a little business here. I want you to go around the company, look every single person in the eyes, and you tell them this. You say, I promise you I will be open, honest, and reactive. I promise you that I'll respect you as a human being. I promise you that I'll respect your confidentiality, and I will also not have sex with you. All right, now, let's do a little soul work. I want you to find somebody, stare in their eyes. Stare into their eyes, do not look away, and you tell them what you see in their soul, okay? Now, pair up. Look, okay, come here. Let's work with you, I'll work with you. Okay, oh my God, I see the French Revolution. I see maidens on fire. Oh my God, your soul is amazing. And I see horses, and you're saving everybody. Oh, what do you see in me? Do you see something? You kind of look like Kathy Bates. I don't know. Well, you seem really wise, I guess. And then Danny's like, okay, everybody, get up and just move around the room. Be free. Yeah, hit the floor and crawl to Danny. Hit the floor and crawl to Daddy. Crawl to Daddy. The only fucked up thing about this was that Franz, my ex-boyfriend, had gotten in. And of course, what she does is she pairs us up with each other. And we didn't want to tell her that we'd actually been in a relationship, because we didn't want to bring that into the work. So she pairs us up with each other and tells us that she wants us to work on a scene from Danny and the Deep Blue Sea. And she sort of sets it up and is like, well, this play's got a lot of fighting and fucking in it. And listen, Lauren, your character is suicidal, and Franz, your character is homicidal, so have fun with that. And the minute that she leaves the room, before we even get started, Franz just looks at me, and I'm like, what? Why can't I? Oh my God, I can't do anything. You're always looking at me like I'm a victim with Franz like all the time. And even like he would put his arm on me during rehearsals, and I'm like, ow, 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 it's like you're digging in with your fingernails. Oh my God, there's a mark, a mark, a mark. You know, and then Danny didn't believe in blocking, so there's a fight scene in the show, in the play, and he literally Franz is on top of me, strangling me, and he's like, pain on me like this. I'm like, I'm gonna tell Danny. And I run to Danny and I tell her, like, I thought I should tell you this because I wasn't very honest, but Franz and I used to be engaged, and he's trying to kill me. And Danny says to me, oh, Lauren, you know, in life, there are two kinds of people. There are those of us that, well, there's the okays and the not okays. You know, there are those of us who just know that we're okay. And then there are those of us that just know that we're not okay. Which kind do you think you are? I guess I'd be the not okay. And then she gives me a mantra to do. She's like, I want you to say to yourself, I'm okay. You repeat that to yourself every single waking moment. Just say to yourself, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And then I also want you to add in, before tomorrow's rehearsal, I want you to add in, Franz cannot hurt me. I can hurt him. Okay, Franz cannot hurt me. I can hurt him. Franz cannot hurt me. I can hurt, thank you, I got it done. I mean, I was like, I want to task so much. I was so like, yes, 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 I'm like a border collie. I'm like, where's she? I'm striving for it. I'm so excited to have like homework that I do it. I'm like, I'm okay, I'm okay. You can't hurt me, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. He cannot hurt me, I can hurt him. You can't hurt me. And then the next rehearsal, when I walk in the door, I just walk in and Franz turns around and he starts to like, yeah, I notice you love to talk to everybody out there. Like you really think you're, so let's get started. You know, and I was like, oh my God, it's already kind of working. Like I felt like I had kind of like a Caesar Milan, like you know, things like that. During rehearsal, every single time he's trying to come towards me, I see him want to like attack me, and then he would like talk himself out of it or something, and then by the end of rehearsal, he started to get mad at himself. So he sort of turned it, and then at a certain point, he's tearing at his shirt, and he tore his shirt off. He's like, oh, like this. And he is wearing a turtleneck, and so he ends up tearing his whole shirt off, and he's just left with a turtleneck. And he's on the floor, and he's crying, and he's like, oh my God, and I was like, oh my God, it works. So then I started doing it all the time, and this I'm okay thing, it really does change everything. Like my Dutch gets so much better, like as I'm taking more risks with it. I can go get stamps, but I can get very specific about what kind of stamp I want, and then at work I get a promotion because my Dutch is better, so I'm waiting tables, and I don't have to have headphones on anymore when I leave my apartment because I'm willing to take on whatever life is going to present me. And I was like, oh my God, Danny's changing my life. Then Danny walks in to a company meeting, and we're right in the middle of filling each other's compliment pots. She does not look how she normally looks. Normally she's got big old Texas hair, and it's just straight. And it looks dirty, like she looks disheveled, like and her makeup is all smeared. And we all know something's up because she looks horrible. And she starts rolling a cigarette, and her hands are shaking, and we're all like, what is going on? And then I notice for the first time that her fingers are all stained yellow, and she starts smoking and tells us how she's been in the bathroom just throwing up and passing out and throwing up and blacking out, just trying to get up enough nerve to get in here and tell us what she's got to tell us. First of all, today is the worst day of my entire life. And then she tells us about how last night, in the middle of the night, Tim, the funder, took off. He disappeared. And he had a dark side that she was not aware of. And he had secrets that she was also not aware of. And Amsterdam just got the best of him. And he couldn't handle it, and he's gone. So she's not able to pay us for the work that we've been doing, because that was part of the deal, that we're going to be paid company members. And the company as we know it is over. And she would like to continue to work, because she'd like to do it in her apartment. And she's saying this, I'm like, oh yeah, of course, I want to keep going. And I look around like, yeah, right, everybody? And people are just like, oh my God. Like every single person looks pissed. And I can't believe it. I'm like, oh my God, she got screwed over by the money guy. What are you talking about? She's an artist, she's left, like, for your poor Danny. Like I felt horrible for her. And then she wants to continue on the day, like keep doing the work, and I am like, come on, let's keep filling the pots, come on. You know, like shoveling the pots, let's fill the pots, let's do it. And nobody else wants to, and people are all, and at a certain point, Danny actually takes me aside, and she's like, let me tell you how much harder I feel like this is on you, because what I really wanted to do, learn this, are you aware? Yes, I do, Lanford Wilson, go ahead, you were. And she tells me about how she was going to do Burn This, and that she wanted to cast me as Anna. And that role, there was not a theater in the world that would have given me that part, okay? I mean, that's like the romantic sort of love lead. She's the main woman of this. I mean, I was playing like Crazy Lady Under the Bridge. I was like, that was my line. Like that. And then, or else I'm playing characters, and the other character's like, ew, she kissed me. So to be a character to play the lead character in this really big, important play, I thought yes, I want to do that. So I tell her that I still want to do it, and I would be willing to do it. I'd really be willing to rehearse. I want to still work with her too, because she's so changed my life. I don't want this to be over, you know. So I tell her yes. The rest of the company quits. There's only me and 2 other people that want to continue to work with her. So she recasts the show from outside the company, and she finds people that are willing to work for free just because they want to work with her. And the people that she finds, I mean, we are even more die-hard Danny followers than the others. And it's good, you know, we got, in my mind, it's like, good, the greedy people are gone, the greedy money people are wanting to pay. You know? It's not about that, it's about the work. You know, and we're rehearsing Burn This, and everybody's doing the best work of their lives. I mean, during rehearsal, we're always like, oh my God. And we're also aware that our lives are being like transformed by Danny, and his work is amazing. And there was a guy in the cast, his girlfriend had just died 6 months before of AIDS, and so Danny was helping him use what was going on in his performance in the play, and it was super intense, and he was being healed by it, and we were all just, I mean, we would leave rehearsals, and we jokingly say, we'd be like, in the name of Danny, all right, we'll see you, because we were also aware of how much our lives are being transformed by her work and such. So, and also during this time period, I start to think, you know what, I'm the lead, this is a big play, I can do this. You know, fuck the independent movies, the European quirky stuff. I could do like American, I bet I could really blast out. I want to see American film, or American sort of like Oscar-winning film, or nominated films. And it was 1993, and the 1992 Oscar nominations had just come out. And I decide that I'm going to see all of the Oscar-nominated performances so that I can take them in and I can study them and see what they were doing. Fuck them.
We're talking about a piece of evidence that says they knew all along that they let my father die in prison. Would you mind telling me what's good about that guard?
What's good about that guard?
Okay, well, fuck's sake, you catch yourself on. They kept us in prison for 15 years. They can keep us in for another 15 years. It's the fucking government guard. It's the fucking government. What are they going to say?
What are they going to say?
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. That's horrible.
Made a wee bit of a mistake there, but you can be on your way now. What are they going to say? Sorry we killed your dad. Sorry we fucked your fucking life. Sorry, what are they going to say?
What are they going to say? Fuck your fucking life. Oh my God, Shadowlands. Like, how do they do that? How do they start crying like that? Like, so, I just assumed there must be some trick. I had no life experience to pull from to think about why you could just cry like that. So I was like, how do they do that? How do they get a little boy to cry like that? It's too...
I don't believe him.
That's okay.
I sure would like to see him.
on my neck. Oh, that was so good. Oh my God. Oh, this next one. How does somebody play a part without making fun of it? And still be a head county. Mama! That sounds horrible. Mama! Mama!
Mama!
Mom, the dead person.
Mama! Wake up! You're hiding, Mom.
Hi.
I know that. Wake up!
Wake up! See, I feel like I'm...
Mama, wake up!
Wake up! That makes you feel like you're young.
Mama!
Oh, wake up! Oh, it's really hard. It's really hard. It's not pretty good.
I trusted you. I trusted you. I trusted you.
Oh my God, so for opening night of Burn This, I was like, this is going to be incredible. I'm going to bring this performance and it's going to like introduce me to Amsterdam. It's going to like change everything. And opening night was we teched the show during the day and we're in the Stad Schouwburg, which is this great theater in Amsterdam. We're in the second stage and she figured out a co-production, Danny did, so she didn't have to pay and it was incredible and we were all so excited for that night and I go home to get ready and my phone keeps ringing and everyone's like, are there tickets? I'm like, I don't know. And then I answer the phone and it's Danny. And Danny starts off the conversation, well it's not a conversation, she starts off the whole thing with, oh my God, Lord, this is the worst day of my life. Oh, I thought the other times were the same of your life. You already taught that? And then she explains to me that the show is being shut down. And she had not gotten the rights to the play. She had asked for them, but Lanford Wilson had turned it down because there was a theater in Amsterdam that he wanted to premiere his show at. So he said no. She just kept on rehearsing, hoping that like something would happen, I guess, or that maybe it would she'd sneak by on the second stage. But it was opening night, and the letter from Lanford Wilson's people had arrived at the theater, so they just shut it down. So that was it. And then she told me that we should all meet at this cafe, the Milkvet Cafe, I think, because she just her hair is not as it used to be. But she tells me about how she's so tired of trying to be the one in charge, the one who's got all the answers and making such big things happen. She just can't do it anymore. She's getting exhausted. And she just wants to spend a little time with herself and just enjoy Amsterdam for a second, you know, and she's also homeless. Because the guy the Hewlett-Packard funder has, you know, she's in his apartment, and so that's over. Well, I asked her to come live with me, and I want her to come live with me. Like, I think it's going to be awesome to have, like, to be in Amsterdam with a woman that I kind of considered like my greatest teacher that I'd ever had, even though she, you know, like, hey, we're all flawed. She's gone through it. She's admitting it, you know, that she's now kind of, you know, at a point where she needs to, you know, be more real about things. So she moves in with me, and it's so wonderful because we're talking and laughing, and everything seems so, I don't know, I feel like I have this like new companion, you know, around Amsterdam. We got much cool. I mean, it wasn't quite as cool as that, you know, but it definitely felt like it made my time in Amsterdam seem better to have her with me, you know, because she was still super supportive of me and really like always sort of, you know, buoying me up like that and very fun to hang out with. So on her birthday, when she turns 35, I want to give her a big birthday present, and so I take her, or I tell her we're going to go out for Mexican food. So, which was her big thing, like, don't you tell a Texas lady she's not having Mexican food on her birthday. You know, so I'm at a Mexican restaurant. And then I come home from work that night, and when I walk in, she's, first of all, she starts telling me how she had an amazing day. This just blessed day that was amazing, and she always had incredible days, all right? She was always like leaving my apartment and like just, you know, strangers were always coming up to her with gifts, just like, I just want to thank you for being you. Like, that people were just sensing that she was a loving being and coming up to her. And so she tells me a story like that. She's like, oh, I woke up this morning and oh my God, the sun, Lauren. Oh, you gotta get up early to see that sun. Woo! And this little girl came up to me and gave me a flower. I mean, just asked, can you hand me that cake behind you? I'm like, sure, okay. And I hand her a cake, and it's a birthday cake that she's bought for herself. And then she keeps telling me the story how she walked about 10, 15 miles, and she just kept walking and walking. And this woman, I'll tell you what, the Dutch love Texas or something. I don't know. They said, can you hand me that fork that's behind you? And I give her the fork, and when I hand her the fork, she takes it and she goes, okay, you're about to see something that I don't show a lot of people. We're about to get real close real quick. And then she eats the entire cake. And I watch her, and I'm also thinking, like, she's not going to save me a piece. Like, it's the whole thing. And while she's eating it, she's just kind of chirping away about this amazing day. And she's like, I think people know when you're thinking about love. You know, they feel it and they come to you. You know, and I'm like, okay. And then she's like, hey, can you hand me that bag that's behind you? I'm like, where's the bag? What's in the bag? I give her the bag, and she opens it up. And she pulls out an avocado, and I'm allergic to avocados, and if I even like, if there's, and people are always like, oops, there's avocado in that salad, is that okay? And I'm like, it's not okay. So it's making me sick, and the smell of it, you know, people are like, you don't like guacamole? What about guacamole? And so she gets it out, and I'm like, oh, I'm sweating. It's really done. She eats 5 of them. She sits there and eats them. And as she's eating them, I'm thinking, are we still going to go for Mexican food? Like, am I supposed to imply that we're not? Is it going to be? And it's freaking me out, too. It's scary. It's like something is going on. And again, the whole time, she just couldn't be having time for life. And then she's like, hey, it's time for Mexican food. So I guess we're going, because she got excited that it was, you know, dinner time. So we get to the restaurant, and she's eating an enchilada, you know, and she's at, and again, I'm petrified. I'm like, is she going to, what's about to happen? Or what is that? Is she going to throw up or something? Or is she just going to, or at some point, is she just going to be like, you know, reach in her purse and get out a gun and be like, happy birthday to me! What's about to happen? And I'm watching it put it down. And then we get back to my apartment. And again, the whole time I'm just watching, just so scared. And then we get to my apartment, she wants all the lights out. And then she just, I can tell she doesn't feel good. And, but she doesn't get sick. She just starts talking, and her voice completely changes. She drops the whole like, hi, woo, it's all good, and just starts talking. And she starts telling me how exhausted she is, and that she has told so many lies. And she has lied to so many people in Texas and hurt so many people, and been borrowing money that she cannot return, been making promises that she cannot keep. and that she had come to Amsterdam hoping to start again and get away from all the bad stuff that she had started there, and then she created it all again. She made it happen again. And that she'd been divorced 4 times, and that her parents were so exhausted from her that they had sort of cut her off, and that she felt like Amsterdam was bringing up all this grief that had been in her. All of a sudden it was coming up to the surface, and she didn't know what to do, and she felt like she was an absolute, complete mess of a human being, and she felt like maybe she just better go back to Texas because she did not know what to do. And I, at this point in my life, I was only like 21, I had never had an adult or somebody that I looked up to, and even though I considered her a good friend, I really looked up to her. I had never had somebody tell me something that personal or admit that kind of weakness to me. And I found that incredibly comforting to hear somebody tell me. I wasn't like, oh, it's so great, your life's falling apart. I wasn't like comforted into a nap, but it was comforting to me. You know, it meant a lot to me that she was sharing that with me, and then I told her. I decided to tell her this story that I never told anybody. And also, nobody ever wanted to hear the story of my abusive boyfriend, okay? And nobody ever wanted to hear it. I try to tell people who were always like, oh, God, you know. But I told her the whole story. And it's a really hard story to hear. It's just gross, it's not funny. It's like I was 16 years old. I dated a stand-up guy who I lost my virginity to against my will, and like he pushed me out of cars. It was so just gross. And like it was horrible, and he punched me in front of all my friends, which was one of the highlights of the story. So I'm telling you again, I'm talking to Danny on the States all the time. I'm like, I'm walking here, I'm looking at the sky now, Danny. Now I feel hungry, now I don't. Okay, so everything. And then I get to the building, and it's above City People's, and I'm looking for how you get in, and there's no, I'm like, what do? There's no markings or anything. Or like push on a brick and like turn a rock or something. And then the door opens, and the superintendent is there. And I'm like, oh my God, Danny, he looks very French. There's a real European vibe of this building. And I walk into the building, and I'm telling her how, like, I swear to God, this is the most European little gem I think I found in the middle of Seattle. Everything is wood. You know, all the cabinets are built in wood. There's a Murphy bed. And even the carpets are like this vintagey, sort of old worldy kind of carpets, and the fixtures. And then, oh my God, Danny, there's a bathroom at the end of the hallway, and it's a shared bathroom. That's just like the artist commune that I lived in back in Europe. That's so European. And there's a clawfoot tub. They didn't have tubs in Amsterdam. You were in like a shower stall, and you had to squeegee when you were done with the shower. It was exhausting. I was like, I cannot wait to take a bath. So I take the room, all right? It's month to month. It's $350. It'll be perfect. So then I tell Danny I'm going to take a bath my first night there. And so turn the tape off. And then I get some bath salts from City People's, and I put my towel on. And then I'm going to go take a bath. And then I open up the door to the bathroom, and there's a dead man on the toilet, okay? He's not dead, but he fucking looked dead. He was over, and it looks horrible. He's really dirty. It looks like, I mean, this sounds so bad, but I thought he was wearing moccasins, but it was his feet. I was like, he's not supposed to. He's just rough, like he has just been out, and then I'm like, I'm so startled to see him. I get like super polite, where I was just like, whoops, hey, let's lock the door for using the bathroom, okay? And then I close the door, and then as soon as I close the door, I'm like, I smell vomit. And I look, and there's vomit all up the steps, so these carpeted steps that go into the apartment building. I'm like, I need to go tell the superintendent, Neil, about that. And I go to Neil's room, and on his front door is a piece of notebook paper, and it says, do not bother me unless you're one of the following people. And there's a list of people. And I'm looking through it for my name. I'm like, no, I'm not on the list. I go back to my room, and I'm on my way, and I'm in a towel still, so I'm trying to get back to my room, and I hear a fight going on, and the door is cracked, and it's the door right across from my apartment, and I hear this guy in there like, don't you tell me you regret premeditated murder, okay? You don't fucking regret premeditated murder. I want to talk to a motherfucker who says he's sorry for knowing he wants the fucker dead, okay? And you don't tell me you regret that. I'm like, shit, that's my neighbor. And then as I'm trying to get in my room, and I look in, and oh my God, this place looks really dreary. And he sees me. I make eye contact with him. I'm like, oh God, he saw me. And then when he sees me, he comes out, and he could not be nicer. He was like, oh my God, did you just move in here? Oh my God, welcome. This is like a community. Well, I'm your neighbor, I'm Steve. I certainly want, if you need anything, I hope you'll come to me. And then he's like, you know, I'm the best neighbor you'll probably ever have. I mean, I'm a dirty motherfucker, okay, but I'm a good neighbor. That's good, you're gonna get that right out in the beginning, good. And I'm trying to scurry back into my room, and then the door next door to mine opens up, and there's this guy, and he's this chubby, sort of younger albino guy, and he seems, well, I'm not gonna say he seems gay, that's horrible. Anyway, he seemed gay. And he had braces on, and he opened the door, and he was like, did you just move in? Okay, do you know that you're the only woman in this building? And I was like, oh God, and he seemed concerned for me, like, did you realize that? He's like, don't talk to Steve, he's disgusting, and don't use the tub is disgusting, they never clean it. Don't do that, and listen, sometimes I'm on the list for Neil, so I can help you get stuff done, but I'm not, I was on the list last week. Yeah, you have to, and also there's a lot of fights, they're always going on here. And you can't sleep at night. You have to get headphones or something, because you won't be able to, or I listen to Garrison Keillor very often. Just sort of calm you. Are you from Seattle? I'm from Seattle. I just, do you know Ted Bundy is? Okay, no, he's not from here, but he killed her. And he said, and then he goes to this 20-minute rant about, like, have you been down by that river? You heard of the Green River Killer? Okay, so you know about, did you go on I-5? Where's the I-5 killer? Don't go to Renton, there's a Renton killer. There's a coin shop killer, and there's a happy face killer, and there's no killer. I mean, whatever I did, like, I love trees, like, there's a tree killer. Killer, every killer. And I'm like, okay, thank you so much, thank you, welcome to Seattle. And then I get in my room, I cannot sleep in that place every single night unless I have The Big Chill playing. And it was the only movie that I could put on that just seemed like this really, like, you can't always get what you want. Like, I would just put it on, and I would fall asleep, and if the movie stopped, I would wake up, I would hear it stop, and I'd replay it, so it was in there, like, you know, creating the soundtrack. And I'm on the tapes all the time, of course, to Danny. I'm like, oh my God, Danny, this was, the internship, I thought I was being paid $30 per show if I did this late night show. I'm getting $30 total for the whole thing. For 4 months, I'm being paid $30. I don't have any money. I'm the only one that's not married or in school or something, so I have no other money. I spent almost all of my money on a $700 bike, and you can't ride it. It's so hilly. I can't go, and it's always raining and everything. So, well, then the sun would come up, of course, and every time there was a new day, I was like, it's a new day, Danny. I'm going to walk to the market, go to market time, get some jus d'orange, and I'm going to go to market, and I'm walking out Fremont Avenue, and in the sidewalk, or on this, not in the sidewalk, he was like buried in the sidewalk in cement. On the sidewalk, there is a guy standing there, and I'm like, okay, he's standing right in my path, and he's got shorts on and nothing else, and he is covered in grass. His face has got grass all over, his chest has got grass, and he's standing there holding a basketball. Like that, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like he looks like he wants to talk to me. I'll talk to you later, okay? And a rare moment, again, I shut the tape off, and then I think about, should I go on the other side of the street, or, oh, whatever, what else am I doing? So I walk right up to him, and he's like, hey, hi, can I meet you? Oh, man, I don't know, this is, my name is Tommy, and I just was driving by and I saw you, and you seem really open to me and really nice. I don't know, I just moved into the neighborhood, and it's so hard to meet people. You know, I just thought I'd take a risk to see if I could meet you. And I mean, I'm a good guy. This is, this is my basketball. That's my truck. I do lawn care. That's my truck. That's all my lawn care stuff. That's my lawnmower. Do you want to have, I don't know, do you want to have coffee or something? Coffee? That actually sounds good. Okay, who's going to know? I have nothing else. I don't know anybody. And so we go and we have coffee, and all during coffee, he talks about basketball, and he describes an NBA game that he saw in detail. He remembered everything about the game. The guy with this, he went here, right? He did the whole game. I was like, it's kind of relaxing. I don't say a word. It's so nice. And then he asked me if, he's like, I have to go do some lawns. Do you want to come with me? Can I show you the lawn? I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll come with you. So I'm in this truck, and we're going, and I'm watching him in the truck as he's doing the lawns, and he keeps sort of waving to me while he's doing the lawns, like showing me, and he's very proud of hedging, which I didn't know was, or edging. I didn't know that edging was such a big deal, and it's hard. And he was showing me. It's good, and then after he gets back in the truck, and he's like, it's time for me to get my dinner. Do you want to come with me? Okay. And so we go, he drives the truck to market time, and he shows me the dinner that he eats every single night. He eats the exact same dinner every single night. And it's a Caesar salad, which I was like, if you have to eat one thing, Caesar salad, what an amazing choice. He gets Ranger cookies, and Ranger cookies are like these butterscotch cookies, delicious butterscotch. And he always he gets a 6-pack of Mickey's Big Mouth beer. And Mickey's Big Mouth beer is malt liquor, which I've never had, but it gets you drunk so quick. And then he gets it, does he have got my dinner? Do you want to come to my house to see my house? I don't come to your house. So we go to his house, and it's this big house in Wallingford, and he's got all these roommates, these guys in their mid-30s, and I walk in, and a lot of them have their girlfriends there, and all the girlfriends are like, Tommy's really sweet. He's so sweet. He's a good guy. He wouldn't hurt anyone. So we go up to his room, and he walks his room, and he's like, this is my room. This is where, so what I do now is that's my electric guitar, and that's my bong, and so I'm going to smoke a little pot out of my bong, and then I'm going to play some Blue Oyster Cult. You want to watch me do it? I mean, like that, and he's good. I never see it. And he plays a little concert, and then he's like, okay, well, it's time for me to have my dinner, and I watch a movie. And good, I'm like, I love movies. So he takes me to his closet, and he's got VHS tapes from the ceiling to the floor. Just a giant collection, and they're all classic horror movies. I've never gotten into those kind of movies. I just sort of, I don't really need it, but he picks one out, and he's like, well, if you have to see the first one, Bride of Frankenstein, I think it's gotta have to be that one. And he puts it in, and he was like, so this is my chair, this is where I sit and I watch my movies, and I'm gonna get you a chair. And he goes and gives me my own chair, and he sits down and says, it's your chair. And so I have my own chair. So I sit down, and then he starts the movie, and throughout the entire movie, he just continues to give me trivia. It's like having the DVD commentary thing before you. He's telling me everything. It's just and he's eating his dinner. This movie took 46 days to shoot, and Boris Karloff had a temporary bridge that he had removed so his face looked more sunken to be like a monster, and that he lost 20 pounds when he was shooting it. And I think it's completely fascinating and so interesting. And I love the movies. I come over every single night, and I start to watch these movies, and I crave them when I'm away from them. And I also get to the point where, like, I just, when it's 5 o'clock, I'll be like, oh, it's time for me to go have my dinner with Tommy. And like, the thought of him doing his routine without me made me really sad. And also, Tommy was one of the most isolated, lonely people I have ever met in my life, and I just wanted to be with him. And it was so easy, and it was so comforting. I mean, he was the most unchallenging person as well, which is such a sweet thing to spend every single night there. And then during this time period, Danny's tapes, which were arriving by the box loads, a little tiny box with books out. I know you do. Were you working on it? Like, I'm just so. I just talk about our little girl. She's taking care of her little girl. Little girl needs to know she's protected, and she can't wait to get to Seattle. She feels like Seattle's a place she can really heal a lot of these things. And I'm like, oh my God, she's so. Everything's like self-helping, and then I'm like, why can't you be more like Tommy? The guy who played Dr. Frankenstein, he actually died from tuberculosis. He was a severe alcoholic, and he died at 37, in 1937. The internship, I actually get a chance to actually perform. It's the first time I'm going to perform in Seattle, so I'm very excited about it. And I'm in this show it's a late night show called The Beat Generation. And we're feeling just fine. Like, we had these, we actually had berets on. And we do poems and in a band and everything. And I had a poem that somebody had written for me to perform in the show. And it was a series of serial titles. It was just all these serial titles, like Life and Blueberry and Captain Crunch and all this stuff. And I was just going to take that poem and make it my own, really work with it. And oh my God, I got way into that. I was like, The Wound, okay, like with serial titles. Right? And I mean, so then it becomes the first night of our performing it, and it's the first night I'm going to perform in Seattle. So I am so like I'm ferociously wanting to attack this thing. And on stage, I'm like, Life, Blueberry, Frankenberry, like way. I'm sure that I was like, God. And so really over the top, but it goes really well. And I got on stage like, that's right, okay. And then Seattle, I'm really jazzed up on it. And I come out after the show and I'm like, oh my God, nobody knows me. But now they're going to see that I'm this fierce, like, oh, my wound, all this stuff. And an intern, I see one of the interns come towards me and he's smiling. He's not happy, but he's smiling. And he's got some people with him. He's like, hey, I just want to say to you, I found that completely offensive. And so did all my friends and my family who were here tonight. It was very embarrassing for me. And you're not funny, okay? And I was like, and it was because one of the serial titles was Special K, and I did Special K, you know, like I done, like I know, just like the Leonardo DiCaprio. It was very mortifying. And so, anyway, so I did that, but I was trying to do it as a character. I wasn't doing it in a mocking, like bang bang. Like I was every single one. I was trying to do a full-on, like real, like character. And of course, so he was offended, and I was like, oh great, I get to America, and the first thing I do is everyone's offended, you know. So the poor people hated it, but I was like, it's a disaster. Now, I come back from Tommy's house. No, sorry about Tommy. No, forget. Before I come back from Tommy's house, we have a bunch of sex. Okay, so I'm at Tommy's house every single night, and one of the nights when I'm picking out a tape, I find this gigantic stack of porno magazines in Tommy's closet, and every single magazine is the theme of like big butt ladies, big butt gals, you and your big butt in my face. And I'm like, oh my God, my first thing, I'm like, hey, he said he stopped me on the street because I seemed open. But then I actually get excited thinking like, I got really flattered. Like I was like, wow, so I didn't know I had like a marketable thing. Like where I was like, you're gonna be like, so that's so exciting to me. It made me feel even like sexier. And having sex with Tommy was so amazing because he would constantly like stop and be like, oh my God, I just can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening. Oh God, you're just so beautiful. I can't believe it. And listen, nobody ever said that. I was used to like in the threesome, one of the guys was like, if we come over every weekend, we can help get rid of some of the extra back here. It's not quite as sexy as that. So now I come home from Tommy's, and I'm not going to spend the night in the apartment, the SRO place. No, I'm not going to spend the night there. But I come in, and I'm getting clothes, and Danny is there. She has arrived. I knew she was coming, but I didn't know when, and she was taking a road trip. She wanted to make a really long journey there. And she got there, and she had convinced Neil, the superintendent, to let her in my room. Like, she'd gone there, and I was like, was your name on the list? Like, how'd you get in there? And she was like, no, I just knocked. You know, I didn't talk about that. He goes, knock. I was like, what, bold? So she's there, and she's in the dark. She has all the lights out when I come in. I was like, oh, of course she does. Of course she does. And I turn the lights on, like, oh, what you doing in the dark? And she's like, hey, how are you, BF? And we called each other BF. Like, oh my God, so good to see you. And then she tells me, she's like, Lauren, oh my God, girl, I just had the trip of my life. It was such a spiritual journey. I mean, it was a real mecca. When I left Houston, first of all, in Arizona, I had a God moment. She'll talk about now, in Arizona, she had a God thing happen where she got so changed, and I think she saw, while she was talking, that I was sort of like, what did God say in Arizona? I wasn't quite taking it in, so she stops and she's like, you know what, I'll tell you about it later. But listen, we gotta get to that mountain. That mountain's calling my name. We gotta get to those lakes. She starts talking about this day trip she wants to take. I'm like, listen, Danny, I'm busy. I have a lot going on right now. I have to go see Tommy. And I wanted that night to go see Tommy. I didn't want to be hanging out with her. Like, I wanted to quickly get over there. So I was like, well, listen, we'll talk about all this later, but I really have to go. I have an intern thing to do. And so I go to Tommy's house, and I continue to just avoid Danny. Like, every time she wants to do something, I'm like, I have to do something, and I go over to Tommy's house. And then eventually what happens is I come home, and there's a note that has been written on the cover of a People magazine. Not my magazine, I would never read that trash, but it was there. And on the magazine it said, Lauren, I think it's better if I just go stay in a hotel. And I was like, oh God, oops. Like I pushed it too far. Like I was so avoiding her that now she left. I felt bad. But I was also a little bit like, well, geez, she's just a little possessive to get that, like, oh, she comes to town just to drop everything. I'm in a relationship. She has to understand that's what's going on for me, and you know, it matters to me, it really matters. And then she calls me and she wants to talk to me in a bar in Wallingford. And so I go and I meet her in the bar, and she tells me, she starts off the whole thing with like, hey girl, I read your journal. And I was like, oh, you read my journal, okay. And then she starts to tell me, she says, listen, I had to read it. I know you. I know you so well, Lauren. I know you better than anybody on earth. I guarantee that you are not being real with me. And I had to figure out what was going on. And even though there may have been some truth to that, I was just like, okay, journal reader, whatever. Read my journal. Oh, wow. Well, yeah, and she keeps telling me all this stuff about how, like, I'm not being very real. I've got this dark side, my secrets, same kind of thing. You know, I'm not really corporate. And I'm not hearing anything. I'm just like, okay, well, you read my journal, so you're like, you're bad, I'm good. I win. So, hey, journal reader. What the wisdom does a journal reader have? You know. It's ironic, because I ended up being like the worst journal reader ever. But anyway. At the time, I just sort of vilify her, and as she keeps trying to tell me all this stuff, and what she's seeing in me and all this stuff, I'm just like, I just can't wait to tell everybody how she read my journal. This is rich. And so then she breaks up with me. She breaks up, and she basically says, you know what, I just don't think I can be friends with somebody who is so dishonest about who they are. And I was like, fine, wow, that's fine. Well, you're a journal reader, so fine. And she left. And I tell everybody, you know, about how she had done that, and oh, and how evil she was. And I was also so excited, actually, that she was gone, because now I could focus more on Tommy, our relationship with Tommy. And I felt like I needed to take a bigger risk with Tommy, and just, I hadn't really shown him who I was. Like, I'd just been in his world, hadn't exposed myself to him. So I decided I want to show him the movie Fanny and Alexander. And I want to show him that movie because I want him to see what was one of the most impacting movies that I'd seen when I was younger, and just give him an example of what matters to me. And as soon as the movie starts, there's a lot of clinking beer bottles going on, you know, and I'm like, shh, it's kind of intense. And then when the guy's dying, the father is dying, and Denny gets up, Tommy gets up, and he gets re-high, like he's, you know, like, may not want to get re-high now. It gets kind of, could be anxiety provoking, so it gets pretty intense. It gets really intense. And then when it's the scene where after the father's died, and then she's in grief like this, and I look over at Tommy, and his eyes are just completely just like dark, looking around, and he makes some comment about like, it's really hard for me with subtitles, you know. I didn't come to a movie to read, right? I was like, no, that's so funny. I haven't heard that one before. And I'm like, oh my God, how could you not be completely affected by this movie? Because, I mean, that's the movie. Oh my God, that's the wound. That's the wound. That's the wound. Oh my God. Okay, I break up with Tommy, all right? Because he doesn't like this movie. Like, I literally am just like, I can't be with somebody who doesn't like the movie Fanny and Alexander. I know that sounds so snobby, but I was like, oh, that was really simple. I didn't even have to struggle with that decision. Done. That was it. I was done with that. And when I broke up with him, so Tommy's gone, and Danny's gone, and actually, I start to really get into a play. I'm at the Empty Space on the main stage, and I'm having a great time. I'm way into it. I have no money, and I have to go to the food bank. And at a certain point, I actually apply for food stamps. That I walk out of the place like, I can't do it, too high. But anyway, but I'm doing it, you know. Like, at least I'm on stage, and it's starting to happen, and I'm meeting other actors, and sort of just, you know, getting in the scene a little bit. So I'm like, it's okay, the American dream. You know. At the food bank, come here with my bags for the food bank. So then I I do feel, no, I know this is it. Well, I do feel, but this is not what I want to say. No, I'm feeling that I started missing Danny, all right, and I feel guilty. And the guilt is always with me about, man, God, why did I fucking do that? She was here and I totally pushed, So I try to call her, all right, and this is right after she was, after we broke up with Tommy. And she's disconnected her phone. She's disappeared. I can't find her. I can't look her up. She's not listed anywhere. It's before the internet stuff was, so I couldn't really find her through that. I even tried to contact her parents. Her parents' number was disconnected, and I was like, oh my God, what did she like move her parents because she hated me so much? I'm sorry, I had to move. The doors were fine. She like burned down the town that she was from. I couldn't find her. Well, anyway, so then a couple of years go by, and I get a call from her. And at this point, I'm acting, and things are going much better. And when she calls me, as soon as I hear her voice, I immediately am like, oh my God, Danny, I have to tell you this really quick before you say anything. I am so incredibly sorry. I am so sorry. There was something, I don't know what it was. Like, I guess maybe that you had so much power in my life, and I go through this whole, just guilty, and I tell the whole story. I'm like, remember you walked in? I retell our whole relationship. You walked in, you were in the chair, and the this and that, you love it, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going on and on, like, remember this, remember that? And I get done with all this, and she's like, you know what, I don't remember any of that. Honestly, I don't, Lauren, but, hey, who knows? I did some crazy stuff. I wouldn't put it past me. Listen, if you're in West Texas, though, you give me a call, okay? And I'm like, okay, so, I don't know if she didn't remember, like honestly did not remember, or else she just felt like she just so could not trust me that she was not even going to go there with me. And really, honestly, either way, I was fine with that. So it's kind of a European movie ending.